contribute because he has been assigned to take most of the job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, just to sample, how many students do we have here? If you're a student, can you raise up your hand? All right, I think most of us are students. Thank you. All right, so we'll be going through this session. The slide, please. Within 20 minutes, immigration, we'll be talking about identity processes, some major questions you might have in mind, how to overcome it. So we'll start as a student. The next one, please. As a student, trying to apply, when you come in from Nigeria and you're trying to apply for your residence card, you know that the visa on the sticker on your passport is not actually your residence card. So you need to register for your residence card. So some of the documents that are needed, you have to ensure, first of all, you have to ensure that your visa has not expired as at the time in which you are applying for your residence card. So you have to apply for a residence card. Ensure that the house you are getting, that the landlord is willing to do the housing authority contract, and it is the landlord applies for it, and then it is approved by the housing authority. And then also you need to notarize that same contract. Your contract also needs to be notarized. So these are some of the important documents that you need. Also, for renewals, Identity of Recent is asking for your contract has to cover at least about 8 months of your renewal. Let's say you want to renew your document, and then your housing contract will expire in the next month or next 2 months. They might not accept it. So in this case, sometimes they take some form of note from the landlord that shows that you are going to renew the contract and you are still going to be there. So that's very important. Also, health insurance. As we are aware, Gasamamu is quite the cheapest around for health insurance. Also, concerning policy on pregnant students, I want him to...
Praise the Lord. Concerning that, there is a privileged information that I got to know. I think, unfortunately, I'm not sure, but over the time I've realized that there is a wrong information probably circulating back home for people that tells them about the fact that in Malta, you can actually bring in your family with a study permit, or that you can, if you give birth here, that your kid can actually have passport, which is actually wrong. So I got to know about a few weeks ago that actually, indirectly, without your knowledge, Identita has actually sent a message directly to the schools, all your registrar. If you are pregnant, before coming here, you will likely be sent back home. Right? Most of them, you think it is your school that is going against you. It's actually not your school. It's a direct instruction from Identita. Most especially, you can testify, most of especially those who are going for health sciences or anything that you need to do clinicals. There's a certain test they intentionally make sure that you will be unable to do it as a pregnant woman, and then they will use it as a reason to send you back. It is because Identita has given them a direct instruction. The school might not tell you. There's a direct instruction to them that any African student or third country national, if you are coming to Malta pregnant, you will likely be sent back home. Also, you also need to also know that it's a bit expensive for students to give birth in Malta. So you might likely need to check. And God forbid you are not using CS. I've seen people that are giving bill of up to 19, 20,000. How do you want to make 20,000 within a year? So please, let's be careful of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next slide, please. Working as a student. For you to work as a student, you need employment license. And this will give you the authority to work for 20 hours per week, maximum of 20 hours per week. Always ensure that your employer applies for this employment license. But without your residence card, you can't apply for the employment license. So you need your residence card at first before you can, before your employer can apply for this employment license. Also, it costs around 230 euros, 150 for application, and then 50 for, once it's approved, you have to pay the 80 euros. That's 150 plus 8, making 230. And the application takes about 1 month. Sometimes the employer tells you have applied, whereas they didn't apply. So you can always ask, I'm going too fast, because there's a lot to say, that's why. We only have, unless we will be giving more minutes. We have a lot. Okay. it takes 1 month, and then you can ask for the registration number. Unfortunately, when your employer applies, you won't get a mail until when it's approved. That's when you get a mail, so you won't know. But the application number is in the form of app.tcn. You can ask your employer for this to be sure they've actually applied. In the case, sometimes the Identita or Job Plus, they come for inspection. So when you're at work and then they come for inspection, what they ask for is for your employment license. And if you don't have the employment license, even if you have your residence card, that residence card is just for you to be a student and stay in Malta. But the employment license gives you the authority to work. So that is very important. But when you're expected outside work, your residence card is enough. So, but during at work, you need employment license. Okay?
Sorry, to contribute to that, perhaps you are working. If you don't have a job license from Job Plus as a student, please be careful. Don't think you'll be given a fine. You are not going to be given a fine. You'll be asked to be taken to detention. They call it detention, but it's actually prison. It's not detention. So I realized that a lot of people, I've seen someone that I know very well who was a student here, but because he was told you go to detention, he wasted 1 year, 6 months in detention, thinking he's fighting the system. There are some decisions that is hard to make, but please be careful of it. And then also to add to that, as a student, perhaps you are thinking of driving here. Be extremely careful. Here, driving, if you drive without a license, you will not be given a fine. You will be sent back home. I'm serious. If you drive without a license and you are caught, all right, you will be sent back home. If you have an international driving license, sometimes they might overlook it for you, but ensure that the sticker on your visa, the date you were allowed to come into Malta, has not exceeded a year if you are presenting your international driver's license. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so for post-study permit, you should know as a student, post-study permit is also 20 hours, not 40 hours. You are done with school, you have a post-study permit. Because there was a question on Expert Malta of a student, a Nigerian student asking, employers not telling her she can't work for 40 hours. So for post-study permit, if you have a post-study permit, you can only work for 20 hours, unless an employer actually applies for a single work permit for you. Okay, so next slide, please. Work permit after process after studies. So you have to note that you need the certificate of completion from your school. If you don't have this, if you don't go to school, you don't get the completion certificate, you won't be able to apply for a job after studies. So it's very important. Go to school. Next one is you find an employer. Find an employer which is willing to apply for a single work permit, a full-time, not 40 hours yes per week. Then also, what's the process? It costs 300 euros as at now. They are currently working on it, some changes on single work permit, but not out yet. Then, when your employer applies, you can't start working until you get your blue paper. So there are different stages when they apply for you. There's submitted, there's process by third parties, which goes through police. After it has been approved by Identita, it moves to police, moves to Job Plus, moves to immigration. So they have to approve it. So at a point, you might be asked to come for biometrics, and after biometrics, you'll be given the blue paper. Blue paper means that they will give you a temporary authorization to work. You'll find that sticker on your paper. So you can start working from then. Then while your application the application will still be on, and you'll still be on processing until it is finally approved when you can go to collect your card. So you will get a mail that confirms a job permit application. Also, you also need, before it goes to Identita, you will have to approve it before it goes to. So if someone tells you, I applied for work permit and you didn't see anything, know that they didn't apply for anything. It goes through you. It comes to your email. You have to confirm yes before it goes to Identita. Thank you. So, okay. Yeah.
In addition to that, please, as a student, or even for those of us who are working, if you have your blue paper, it's a temporary residence to work. You cannot travel with it. Do not travel because you have a blue paper. Please, it might look simple, but if you don't know, don't think anybody will allow you back. You might not be allowed back. And that's why they will state it on that paper that it is not a permit for you to re-enter Malta. Praise God.
Next slide, please. So, types of work permits. Types of work permits. We should know that EU nationals and Maltese are not required to apply for a work permit. They just get a job, and then their employer will just submit a job acknowledgement to Job Plus, and they start working. So, but as a non-EU, you need a work permit or employment license, depending on your residence card. So, the three different, we have the normal work permit, we have SEI, we have KEI, we have EU Blue Card. Next slide, please. For the SEI, which is the specialized employee, next slide, please. Okay, I didn't put it here. Employee initiative. Okay, so the minimum financial salary for this one is 25,000 euros minimum gross, MKF level 6, with at least 3 years experience in that role. Then the process takes 4 weeks, and it's valid for 1 year. If your employer applies, but then your salary is qualified for this, but then your employer did not apply for SEI, it will go through the normal work permit. If your employer did not submit the application under SEI, it will go through the normal one, which takes a lot of months before an editor will even pick it up. So this is very, very important. You have to know. Your employer might not know about this. There's SEI of 25,000. Most of them don't know.
I just got my permit yesterday. My employer was supposed to submit as KEI. I have submitted since January, right? But because he has made the payment already, before I knew that she made a mistake to submit ordinary permit. So you will be treated, even if you are KEI, you'll be treated as an ordinary permit. So which might take a lot of time. In case you have something to do within that period, you might not be able to travel or do anything. So please always guide your employers. I know some of my employers in the past that I'm the one that always teach them how to do work permit.
Next one, please. Next slide, KEI. KEI is Key Employee Initiative. The minimum salary for this one is 35,000 gross. Okay, MKF level 6, also proof of work experience. This should take around 1 week application process. It doesn't take, it are sitting by identity around 1 week. Then the validity is 1 year initial, which can be up to 3 years for renewals. It also costs 300 euros. Then we have the EU Blue Card. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Next.
EU Blue Card, okay. So EU Blue Card is quite similar to KEI, just that this is based on EU law. And then the salary range is 1.5 times the average gross in Malta. So it moves depending on the average gross in Malta. So as at now, the current salary qualification for EU Blue Card is around 35,000 euros a year gross. Also, MQF level 6, the application process takes around 1 month. And then the initial application, the validity is 2 years, not 1 year. If they give you 1 year, go back to Anita, tell them it is 2 years, because they make that mistake. You have to tell Anita their own laws too. So,
yes.
And renewal also can be also more than 2 years. So what are the benefits of EU Blue Card over the others and over KEI itself? Because the salary is similar to KEI. What does EU Blue Card have over others? Family members can come immediately. You and your family, as long as you can cover them with your salary, they can come immediately with you to Malta. You don't have to wait. You don't have to be in Malta for 1 year or a minimum period of time. Then also, it counts to long-term residency in other EU country. If you plan to move to another EU country, and let's say in that EU country, you need to have lived there for 5 years. So if you live in Malta for 2 years and you move to that EU country, you can live there for 3 years. So the 2 years in Malta will count as the EU Blue Card. 3 years in that other country as EU Blue Card. When you continue there as EU Blue Card, it counts as you can use it to apply for your LTR in that country. Also, when such person loses their job, for EU Blue Card, you have 3 months. In your first 2 years, after 2 years, you have 6 months. But the normal work permit, KEI, SEI, is just 10 days as at now. The government is working on changing this. There are still talks about this, but currently, these are the things. Also, your spouse can be self-employed, while your spouse pays tax and then by their own self. So they can be self-employed with EU Blue Card. The next one, please. Bringing families stroke dependents. We have 2 types as non-EU. We have family unification, we have family member policy. So we have to know the differences between family member policy and family unification. We'll start with family member policy. Next slide, please. Family member policy is possible. Next slide. Family member policy is possible after sponsors 1 year of working in Malta. You've been in Malta for 1 year, you can apply. There's an exception. If you earn 50,000 euros, your family member can come immediately. That's the exception. So let me not talk much about that. Family member should not be in Malta as at the time you're applying. Children not more than 18 years. Then you have to legalize, to bring your spouse, you have to legalize the marriage certificate. Some people, they take it to Libya. You have to take it to Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Nigeria, Abuja. Then you take it to embassy. Not just any embassy, a country that has Nigerian's embassy and also Malta embassy. For example, in Libya, they have Nigerian embassy and they have Malta embassy. We used to do it in Greece. I didn't mind in Greece. They had Nigerian embassy because it will be stamped, the marriage certificate will be stamped in Nigerian embassy in Greece and in Malta embassy in Greece. All right, so health insurance for each member. The qualification to bring in 1 person, the median wage of 18,940 net also changes depending on the median wage in Malta. It's around this amount. This 18,940 is for the sponsor, then plus an additional 20% for who you are bringing. Let's say you are bringing in 4 people. 20% times 4, that's 80%, plus this 18,940 net. This is net, not gross, so you have to calculate it in gross. So, family member cannot work. With this family member policy, family member cannot work unless an employer applies for a work permit. You bring your wife on family member policy, they cannot work on this unless they get a job that is willing to do a single work permit for them, for the wife or for the spouse. So we talk about the next one, which is family unification. Family unification. This one is after 2 years of sponsor stay, except for EU Blue Card that can bring your family and apply for family unification immediately. 2 years of sponsor. The other one is 1 year. So this one's financial qualification is average wage of 25,000 gross plus 20%. It also changes depending on the average wage in Malta, but it's around that amount, 25,000 for the sponsor plus 20% for each dependent, each family member. Also, spouse can work with this just with a job plus employment license. So the difference between a job plus employment license is it's faster. Within 1 month, it gets approved. But for single work permit, employers don't even want to go there. Once you tell them a new work permit, sometimes they are not willing. But for employment license, within one month, what's it called? Job plus, they just need your money. They will approve it. So you can also join salary with your spouse. Let's say husband is working in Malta, they have a separate single work permit. The wife also has a single work permit in Malta. They can join resources and apply to bring their children to Malta. It counts. You can join both together. Before I continue, okay.
Okay, I think that is very well explanatory. What I just want to quickly chip in is when our brother is actually telling some of these required qualification, he might be mentioning MKF. Maybe most of us doesn't know. Our students will definitely know. MKF 5 is regarded as your diploma. MKF 6 is equal to your bachelor's degrees. MKF 7 is equal to your master's degree, and a PhD and doctoral degree is regarded as MKF 8. All right, Malta qualification. All right. So now it is quite simple and it's easy for each and every one of us. When you finish your study, quickly register for the MKF yourself for the conversion. I think it costs about just €5 or €4. You can do it online. They don't have to post it to your house. They will send you the soft copy and you can print it out yourself. So it's quite easy to submit. They will verify your certificate and they will give it to you. So you can easily use it to get a job. Thank you.
Okay, lastly, we are going to talk about long-term residence and citizenship in Malta. Long-term residence, how do you qualify to be a long-term resident called LTR? Residency, it means that your residency is no longer based on your job. So even if you don't have a job, you don't have to rely on, you don't have to fear what if the job tells you no job. So you have a long-term residency. How can you apply? When you have 5 years in Malta. Aside this, not just 5 years in Malta, also, you must have passed these 2 stages of I Belong integration courses. How many of us know about I Belong integration courses? Okay, thank you. Very few people. Because some people don't know about this. They are in Malta for 5 years, then they apply for long-term residence, and they ask them, where is your I Belong? Nowhere to be found. Then you start. And this can take you 3-4 years before you can finish the 2 stages. So you now have to wait again. So when you start working in Malta, immediately apply for stage 1. It's free. The first time is free. Government pays for it once. But it takes a long while before they call you for classes. I just finished my stage 1. I'm waiting to apply for stage 2. So you need to have those 2. Stage 1, it's mostly culture and then language, multi-language, just basic, not something hard. So that's very, very important. Once you start working, you start the stage. Even if you don't plan to stay in Malta, but still do it. By the time you might find yourself being in Malta, you might not plan to be in Malta for a long period of time, and by the time you find yourself, I did 10 years in Malta, so very, very important. Also, so when you have LTR, like many of us here,
Yes.
Many of us here. So when you have LTR, your spouse no longer need work permit, your spouse no longer need employment license. They can work. They can just find job and work like a multi-citizen. Your only thing is that you cannot vote. That's your only thing. So, unless you have citizenship. So, that's that for LTR. And for citizenship, it's quite, according to the books, they say after 5 or 6 years you can apply. But the truth is that they will eat your money after that. But then, we have seen a number of cases, around 12 years, 11 years, 10 years, you can try 14, 13, and even much less than that, maybe. So it depends on also what you bring to Malta, what you do. If you join clubs, you are doing something, and they say you are very important. For example, you have footballers that for sure they give them, you are playing for Malta team, they will give you citizenship. So they also look at what you bring into the country. Are you a value? So, but it's quite hard. So that's that for citizenship. Thank you.
All right. Just to add to that, firstly, I'm going to buttress on the point of the I Belong. When you are trying to apply for the long-term residency, they are not going to write I belong there. They're just going to ask you for proof of long-term residency in Malta. So that is what they are indirectly referring to. And I will say that, just like our brother has said, please try to register as soon as possible. It's one of the mistakes I did. Some people that know me very well can attest to it. If you are going to tell me 2 years ago that I will be standing here in Malta by now, I will tell you it's a no, all right? Because my wife and my kid was expecting me to relocate back to the UK. But now, things changed. They have to leave UK. I have to stay here. We are now here. Now I have to start all over again, what I should have done 3-4 years ago. Now then, when I came to Malta, it was quite easy to do it. Now, it takes over 3-4 years for you to be able to do it. I have done the first, the normal language. I was supposed to do the second stage because stage 1 is 2, and then the third one. I've been waiting since last year, July. They have not called me. They have not even given me the result. Either I passed or I failed. All they just tell me is when it is your turn, we will let you know. So it's better you start early. Because I remember during the language, there was one guy who came to Malta. He said he was just in Malta for 3 months. And he was lucky to get with a badge to do it. So if you start early, there's no harm in trying. If you now decide to move, knowledge is not waste. So that is one thing I want to add. Another thing I also want to quickly chip in is the fact that as students or as workers, all right, students, many of us, I know it's quite difficult for you to be able to survive with a 20 hours job, and then we are telling you to be careful so that they don't send you back home. Just like our sister has mentioned earlier, it is important for us to learn how to think out of the box. You need to learn how to think out of the box. You are a student in Malta. You can actually make money outside Malta. You can work full-time outside Malta. All right? So that's one of the things I usually help some of my students with. Learn how to look for remote jobs online. There are companies in US, UK, Canada that are always employing online. If you know you have the skills, there are over 1,000. You can meet me. I can send some of them to you. I have over 1,000 websites that you can actually sit down one after the other. You cannot go over almost 900, 1,000 websites, and at least one will not give you the job. All right? So that is extremely important. So you can actually use that as a full-time work, and then they pay you from outside while you still do your 20 hours job here. I think that can also help in a lot of ways to be able to make money instead of going against the rule or the law of the land. Another thing that I want us to also learn is that for you or for our loved one, we need to understand that it is not always only study permit that can actually allow you to be here. There are different other ways. Perhaps you have someone at home that is asking you, do you only have to go through study permit? There are other types of visas that can actually allow you to be in Malta or any part of the world. The only thing you need to know is what are the categories of the visas, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages. Once you look at each one of them, then you can be able to decide which one is the best for you. The only reason why study permit is more prominent, especially for those of us that like schools or academicians, it is not technically because all of us like studying so much. It's not that easy to go to school, all right? However, the only advantage is because it is the only type of visa that is easy to change to any other type of visa for your long-term residency or for your work permit or the rest. In so many countries, there are other type of visas that might not be easy for you to change. But as far as Malta is concerned, we have visit or tourist visa, visiting visa, tourism visa, and business visa. They are all classified together. You can actually use that to come into Malta. There are only disadvantages with it. There are some, you are not expected to do employment. You are not expected to work with it. You are not expected to participate in sports. You are not expected to do a lot of things. So you must look at the disadvantages. But it can still allow you to remain here during the period of time. In a lot of other European countries, it is very difficult for you to change it even to study. In Malta, you can change it to study. But you must be careful that your visa is still valid. All right? It is still valid. You might be given a 1-year visa. I've seen someone that came to meet me, and that is part of the problem they have. That you have a visiting visa of 1 year doesn't mean you are entitled to live in Malta for the whole of that 1 year. Check your visa very well. They will always tell you the maximum days you can stay per trip. All right? I've seen someone that has a 90-day validity. Though the visa states 1 year, the agent that gave the visa to her just told her you have 1 year visa, go within 1 year, you can be able to sort yourself out. And then when it came to me, they want to convert, I said, okay, let me see your visa first before I can see if I can help you. It's possible to change it to study visa just to be able to extend your stay here. But I found out that the person has stayed more than 90 days. Meanwhile, on the visa states that she can only stay 90 days per trip. I said, if I had known a week before, I would have asked you to pay $50, go to Istanbul, come back, and then the 90 days start counting again, and then we can be able to change it to study permit for you. But if you make that mistake, always check your visa so you can actually use visit visa and tourism visa. It's more difficult to change a visit or tourism visa to work permit for the residence permit and the rest that do so, but you might get lucky. Nothing is truly impossible with our God. All right? The next one is the study visa. We all know. Our brother has been talking so much about it, so I don't need to go through it again. Then we have the work permit visa. It is not compulsory that you have to get a student visa to come here first, then stay 1 year before you can be able to do it. You might actually have relatives that want to come to Malta, tell them they can actually get employed directly online, especially if they are in the 5 major sectors that is really, really booming in Malta. One of the things that most of us has issues is that you don't pay attention to know what are the disciplines that are extremely important. Over the course of my 5 years here, I have realized that there are only 5 major industries that you can actually be in Malta. Every other one is existing, but very, very minimal. So that is why you have to pay attention to know if you're in those industries. All right? You cannot tell me that you are doing, you studied geography or you did history, and then you are expecting that you want to come here and work with history in Malta. It's going to be very difficult because it's not really a very welcoming discipline. Then the other one, the last one is there's something they call nomad visa. All right, you can also use that also. So it is not only study visa that is available. Also, the nomad visa has its advantages and disadvantages. You are not with any employer. Nobody needs to fire you. You can live and work here, do whatever you want to do without stress or panic that someone might terminate my residence card. However, it has its own advantages and disadvantages. The nomad visa is meant for people that are working outside, maybe in Nigeria or any other part of the world. You have your certain amount of money. They usually require you to have minimum of about 4,000 or 5,000 euros per month as your salary. All right? So now, if you now have that type of job and you can prove that it is a remote job and you just want to be living in Malta while you are working remotely in other part of the world, that is what nomad visa is meant for. So you can use that, you can be able to renew it. I think I heard that they are going to change it to maximum of 3 years now, but as at now, you can renew it every year. So now that is one of the advantages it has. You can also travel around, you can live here legally, and they are also allowed. The only disadvantage is you are not expected to pick up a full-time job with a nomad visa. You are not expected to pick up a full-time job with a nomad visa because remember the visa is meant for those who are working outside full-time that just want to live here. So you cannot tell the authority that you have a job that is paying you 5,000 euro from another country, and then you are now telling them to change your visa to a work permit for a job that is going to pay you 1,500 euro gross. All right? So it's contradictory, so they will likely not grant it. But if you get lucky, you might be able to change it. So that's one of the disadvantages that comes with a nomad visa. And I think that is all for now, because I think we need to understand that it is not compulsory that it must always be school, or if you are telling your loved one that they should come here, it is not only school. There are other routes that you can be able to use. For those of us that might need interest about, there are a lot of us here, Bro Benga or any other person that you can ask around. People who have knowledge about how to do remote work. Our brother David is also here. Just contact any one of them. If they don't have the information, they will likely know any one of us that might be able to help you out. So they will refer you to the person so they can guide you on how to get online jobs, how you can be able to get paid. So you don't have to always have much mental stress that the 20 hours job you are doing is not enough. Praise the living Jesus.
Okay. Before we go to questions, I have one last thing to say. Free healthcare. You don't have access to free healthcare until after you've paid taxes and social security for more than 1 year. So your first year of working, you don't have access to free healthcare. So let's note that. Questions?